The conference room went silent. My stepdaughter Claire stood at the podium, champagne glass raised, her graduation gown still draped over her chair. 50 people, friends, family, colleagues, all turned to watch her toast. "I want to thank everyone who made this possible," she said, her voice carrying that practiced confidence she'd learned at McGill. "Especially my father, who believed in me enough to invest in my future. Dad, this engineering degree is as much yours as it is mine." She looked directly at a man in the back corner. Not me. Her biological father, Derek Chen, who'd flown in from Vancouver that morning. He raised his glass, beaming. I sat 3 tables away, next to my wife Linda, Claire's mother. I felt Linda's hand squeeze mine under the table. A warning, maybe, or an apology. I wasn't sure anymore, Claire continued. And of course, thanks to everyone else who supported me along the way. She glanced at me then, briefly, the way you'd acknowledge a helpful stranger who held a door open. "Tom, thanks for, well, everything you did. Everything I did." I smiled, lifted my glass, said nothing. But in that moment, something inside me finished breaking. Not with a crash, but with a quiet, final click like a lock turning. I met Linda 22 years ago at a community center in Toronto. She was teaching an after-school art program. I'd just sold my father's construction company after he passed, and I was looking for ways to give back. We were both 40-something and cautious, the way you are when you've already survived one failed attempt at forever. Linda had been raising Claire alone since she was 4. Derek had left when Claire was a toddler, moved to Vancouver, started a new life in tech. He sent birthday cards, sometimes called on holidays, occasionally visited for a weekend, always promised more than he delivered. When Claire was 8 and I became part of her life, she was wary. I didn't push. I showed up, helped with homework, drove her to soccer practice, fixed her bicycle, made pancakes on Sunday mornings. I never tried to replace Derek. I just tried to be there. By the time she was 12, she called me Tom Never Dad, which I understood, but she included me. School projects, parent-teacher meetings, the small emergencies of growing up, I was present for all of it. When she was 14 and decided she wanted to be an engineer like her father, I encouraged it, bought her books on structural design, helped her build a model bridge for the science fair. We spent 3 weekends in my workshop, calculating load distributions and testing materials. She won first place. Derek sent a congratulatory text from Vancouver. High school was harder. Claire became more distant, more interested in her phone and her friends than family dinners. Normal teenager stuff, Linda assured me. But there was something else. Claire had started talking about Derek more. My dad says this, and my dad thinks that. Never mind that Derek called, maybe twice a month. When she got into McGill early admission, full academic scholarship based on grades, she wanted to study engineering. I was proud. Linda was terrified of the cost. The scholarship covered tuition, but Montreal wasn't cheap. Residence, books, living expenses, it added up. Derek called that night. "This is amazing, Claire Bear. I'm so proud. Listen, I'll help with whatever you need. That's what fathers do." Linda and I talked about it after Claire went to bed. We had savings. I'd invested well after selling the business, and Linda had been careful with her teacher's salary. We could afford it. "Let's wait and see what Derek actually contributes," Linda said. "He promised. Maybe this time." I wanted to believe that too. Derek sent $2,000 in September of Claire's first year. A check with investment in your future, written in the memo line. It covered about 6 weeks of residence. I paid the rest. $12,000 that year, $14,000 the next, $16,000 by 3rd year, when she moved into a slightly nicer apartment. 4 years total I kept the receipts, though I never intended to came to $58,000, not counting the laptop I bought her in 2nd year when hers died during exam week. Not counting the used Honda Civic I co-signed when she was 20 and needed something reliable for her co-op placements. Derek sent money twice more, $500 one Christmas, $1,000 when she made Dean's List in 3rd year. Each time with a phone call about how proud he was, how he knew she'd be successful, how engineering ran in the family. Claire never asked where the rest of the money came from. Linda handled the transfers. I never brought it up. That's what you do, right? You support your family. You don't keep score. Except maybe I should have. The graduation party was Linda's idea. Claire had landed a job with an engineering firm in Toronto, good salary, starting in September. She'd be moving back home for a few months to save money. Linda wanted to celebrate properly. We rented a banquet hall, invited friends, family, some of Claire's high school teachers, a few of her classmates who were also moving back to Toronto. I handled the catering. Linda organized the decorations. Claire made the guest list. Derek's name was on it. Linda showed me, apologetic. She wants him there, Tom. He's her father. I know, I said, and I did know. I'd always known. But something in my chest tightened anyway. Derek arrived early, straight from the airport. Designer suit, expensive watch. The kind of tan you get from golf courses and beach vacations. He hugged Claire like they saw each other every weekend instead of twice a year. "Look at you," he said. "An engineer. I knew you had it in you." I watched from across the room, adjusting the catering table, making sure everything was perfect. Derek saw me, walked over, extended his hand. "Tom, good to see you. Hell of a party. You guys did great." "Thanks," I said. His handshake was firm, confident. The handshake of someone who'd never doubted his place in the world. "Must be proud, eh?" "Claire's going places. Very proud. Engineering's not easy, but she's got the genes for it," he grinned, like it was a joke we were both in on. I smiled back. "She worked hard. That she did. That she did." He clapped me on the shoulder and moved on to greet someone else. When Claire gave her toast and thanked Derek only, Linda's hand tightened on mine again. I could feel her tension, her awareness that something had just broken between us. But I kept smiling, kept my glass raised, kept my face neutral. After the toast, people mingled. I made the rounds, thanked guests for coming, accepted congratulations on Claire's behalf, played the role I'd been playing for 22 years. Derek cornered me near the bar. He'd had a few drinks by then, his cheeks flushed. "You know, Tom, I really appreciate everything you've done for Claire. Seriously. Linda couldn't have managed without you. She's a smart woman. She'd have managed." Sure. But having a stable guy around, that matters. Kids need structure. I wasn't there for that, I know. But the important stuff, the values, the drive, the brains, that's genetics, right? Nature over nurture. He laughed, like he'd made a profound observation. I looked at him, really looked, and I realized he believed it. Genuinely believed that his twice-monthly phone calls and occasional checks had shaped Claire more than the daily presence of someone who'd loved her without needing credit for it. "Right," I said. "Genetics." "Exactly. Anyway, I'm glad she had you for the day-to-day stuff. The stable presence. That's important too. The day-to-day stuff." I excused myself, went to the bathroom, stood at the sink, and stared at my reflection. 64 years old, gray hair, lines around my eyes from years of construction sites and worry. I looked tired. When I came back out, Claire was talking to Derek, animated, laughing. She looked happy. She'd always looked happy around him, the special, rare happiness you reserve for someone you don't see often enough to take for granted. I walked past them. Neither noticed. Linda found me later, in a quiet corner. "Tom, it's fine," I said. "It's not fine. She should have thanked you. Properly. You paid for everything." She didn't know that. Yes, she does. I've told her. Multiple times. She sees Derek differently. He's this successful figure who swoops in and, I know, I did. I'd watched it happen for years. The hero worship. The selective memory that erased Derek's absences and amplified his rare appearances. "I'll talk to her," Linda said. "Don't, Tom. I mean it, don't." That night, after everyone left and we'd driven home in silence, I sat in my study. Linda had gone to bed. Claire was staying with a friend for the night before flying back to Montreal the next day to pack up her apartment. I opened my filing cabinet, found the folder I'd kept without really meaning to. Bank statements, canceled checks, transfer confirmations, 4 years of tuition support, residence fees, living expenses, the car loan, the laptop receipt. $58,412. I'd never added it up before, never wanted to see the number. But there it was. I pulled out another folder. The Honda Civic. Loan in my name. Co-signed by me when Claire couldn't qualify. She'd been making the payments mostly. I'd covered 3 months last year when her co-op ended and her next one hadn't started yet. Another $2,000. Then the credit card. I'd added her as an authorized user when she was 19 to build her credit history, Linda had suggested. For emergencies. Claire's emergency purchases, it turned out, had a broad definition. The balance sat at $4,800. She was supposed to pay it down. It had been growing instead. And the apartment. She'd signed a year lease in Montreal for her final year, but the landlord required a guarantor, someone with good credit and stable income. That someone was me. I'd built her future. Quietly, without asking for acknowledgement. She'd just thanked someone else for it. The next morning, I called my bank, then my insurance company, then the credit card company. By noon, I'd done what I should have done months ago, maybe years ago. I removed Claire, as an authorized user, from my credit card. The representative asked if there was a problem. Just time for her to build her own credit, I said. I contacted the car insurance company. The Honda was still under my policy, cheaper that way, Linda had said. I called and removed it. The representative warned me that Claire would need to secure her own policy immediately or risk driving uninsured. She'll handle it, I said. Then I called the leasing company. Informed them I was withdrawing as guarantor on the Montreal apartment. They informed me I couldn't do that mid-lease. I asked what would happen if I stopped paying should Claire default. They said they'd pursue collection against Claire and potentially evict her. Understood, I said. I didn't cancel anything that would leave her stranded immediately. I'm not cruel, but I pulled back every safety net I'd quietly spread beneath her over the years. Then I transferred $20,000, about a third of what I'd spent on her, into a separate account. Money she couldn't access, couldn't see. Insurance for Linda and me, for our future. Finally, I drafted an email. Short, factual. Claire, I've made some changes to your financial arrangements. You're no longer on my credit card. Time to build your own credit. The car needs to be transferred to your own insurance policy by end of the month. I've attached documentation showing the expenses I've covered for your education over the past 4 years. I thought you should have the full picture. I'm proud of what you've accomplished. But you're an adult now, starting your career. It's time to stand on your own. Tom. I attached the bank statements, the receipts, the loan documents. Then I closed the laptop without sending it. Not yet. Linda found me in the study that afternoon. What did you do? She'd been crying. What needed to be done? Claire called. Her credit card was declined. She was trying to book her moving expenses. She has the job. She has a salary starting in 3 months. She can use her savings or apply for her own card. Tom, she's panicking. The car insurance company called her too. She didn't even know she wasn't on your policy anymore. She should have known. She's 24, Linda. She should have been handling this herself years ago. You can't just punish her like this. I'm not punishing her. I'm stopping. Stopping what? Stopping pretending that what I do matters to her. Linda sat down, hard. She loves you. She thanked Derek yesterday. Not you. Not me. Derek. The man who sent maybe $8,000 total in 20 years. She thanked him for her degree. She's young. She doesn't understand. She's 24 with an engineering degree. She's not young. She's an adult who's chosen to believe a comfortable lie rather than an uncomfortable truth. So you're teaching her a lesson? That's cruel, Tom. No, I'm teaching her reality. And maybe I should have done it sooner. We didn't speak the rest of the day. 3 days later, Claire called. Not me, Linda. I listened from the other room. Mom, I don't understand what's happening. Tom cut off everything. The credit card, the insurance. I called Dad and he said he'd help, but then he looked into flight costs and said it was complicated right now. Mom, I start work in September, but I have rent due and moving expenses, and Linda came to find me after. You need to fix this. No. Tom, please. She's scared. She made a mistake. She made a choice. And choices have consequences. She's our daughter. She's your daughter. I'm the day-to-day stuff, remember? Linda flinched. Derek's an ass. You know that. I know that. Claire's going to figure that out too. But what? I should keep funding her life while she gives credit to a man who barely knows her. Linda, I have spent 22 years showing up, being present, paying for things, supporting her, and yesterday, in front of 50 people, I became invisible. The help, the background character in her life story. She didn't mean, yes, she did. A week passed. Claire moved back to Toronto, but not to our house. She stayed with her friend Sarah, the one from the graduation party. Linda visited her there. I didn't. Linda came home one evening and said she's applying for her own credit card, and she found cheaper car insurance. She's managing. Good. She asked about you. What did she ask? Why you're doing this? Why now? I looked at my wife. We'd been married 18 years. I'd loved her steadily, quietly, the way you love when you've already learned the cost of losing someone. Tell her, I said, that I spent 22 years waiting for her to see me, and at her graduation, I realized she never would. Not while I kept making it easy for her to look away. 2 weeks later, Claire showed up at the house. Saturday afternoon, Linda was at a staff meeting. I was in the garage, organizing tools. Tom? I turned. She stood in the doorway, backlit by summer sun. She looked smaller than she had at graduation, uncertain. Claire, can we talk? I gestured to the workbench. She came in, sat on the stool I kept for projects. I read the email, she said. I'd sent it 3 days after our conversation. Just the facts, just the numbers. Okay. I didn't know. I knew you helped, but I didn't know it was everything. Mom always just said it was covered. I thought Dad's money and my scholarship. Your scholarship covered tuition. The rest was me. $58,000. 65, if you count the car and the current credit card balance. She looked at her hands. I called Dad, after I read the email, asked him how much he'd sent over the years. I waited. He didn't remember exactly. He thought maybe 15,000, but he couldn't check right now because he's between accountants. She said it with air quotes. Bitter. I pushed him. He got defensive. Said he sent what he could, that he had other obligations, that I should be grateful he stayed in my life at all after the divorce. I see. Tom, I'm so sorry. For the speech, for not seeing. Claire. I set down the wrench I'd been holding. I don't want an apology. Then what do you want? I want you to understand something. For 22 years, I showed up. I paid attention. I invested time and money and love. I never asked for credit because I thought that's what family does. But here's what I learned. Silence isn't humility, it's erasure. By never asking for acknowledgement, I taught you I didn't need it. I taught you I didn't matter. You matter. Do I? Or do I matter now because the money stopped? She flinched. That's not fair, she said quietly. Maybe not, but it's honest. And I'm done not being honest, because it's uncomfortable. So what now? You just cut me off forever? No, but I'm done being invisible. I'm done being the safety net you forget exists until you need it. You're an adult, Claire. You have a degree and a job. You can build your own life, with your help or without. I looked at her, really looked. She was crying now, quietly, and I felt something shift. Not forgiveness that would come later, or maybe it wouldn't, but something softer than the anger I'd been carrying. That depends, I said. On what? On whether you want a relationship with me or with my wallet. The summer passed. Claire took her job, found an apartment smaller than the Montreal one, something she could afford without a guarantor. She came to dinner once a week, sometimes twice. We talked, not about money, about work, about her projects, about the small struggles of being 24 and learning to adult properly. She brought her first paycheck to show us. Proud, Linda cried. In August, Claire asked if I wanted to see her new apartment. I said yes. We drove there on a Saturday. It was modest. IKEA furniture, second-hand dishes. But it was hers. I'm paying my own rent, she said, and I set up automatic payments on the credit card. It'll be cleared in 6 months. Good. And I transferred the car loan to my name. Took some negotiating, but they approved it. That's responsible. Tom. She turned to face me. I know I can't undo the speech, or the years I didn't see what you were doing, but I want you to know I see it now, and I'm grateful. Not just for the money, for everything. I nodded. Thank you. Can we start over? Not forget I don't deserve that, but start building something real? We can try. Linda and I talked about it that night. Do you regret it? She asked. Cutting her off? No. She could have floundered, really struggled. She could have. But she didn't. She figured it out, because she had to. I was so angry at you. I know, but I think I understand now. You weren't punishing her. You were refusing to let her keep disrespecting you. She didn't see it as disrespect. She saw it as normal. That's what I taught her. Linda was quiet for a long time. Then, I'm sorry too. I let it happen. I knew Derek was taking credit. I knew she wasn't acknowledging you. I told myself it would balance out eventually, that she'd figure it out when she was older. Maybe she would have. Or maybe she'd have spent her whole life thinking success was genetic and hard work was just background noise. Did we fail her by making it too easy? I thought about that. About the model bridge when she was 14, the midnight drives to pick her up from parties, the Sunday pancakes, the quiet, steady presence I'd maintained for 2 decades. No, I said finally. We loved her. But I stopped letting her take that love for granted. There's a difference between supporting someone and disappearing into their life. I won't disappear anymore. Not for her. Not for anyone. A year later, Claire invited us to her company's family day. Engineers brought their families to see the projects they were working on. She'd been assigned to a bridge rehabilitation, small scale, municipal, but it was hers. She introduced us to her team. This is my mom, Linda, and this is Tom, my stepdad. He's the one who taught me to love building things. Not Derek. Not her real father. Tom. Later, she pulled me aside, showed me the bridge plans. Remember the science fair? 10th grade? The model bridge. You won first place. You stayed up 3 nights with me getting the calculations right. You showed me how to think about load distribution and material stress. I didn't understand it then, but that was real engineering. Not the theory, the practice, the patience. The idea that building something solid takes time and showing up and doing the work even when it's not glamorous. You did the work, Claire. You won that fair. We did the work, together. And I didn't thank you then, either. You were 14. I was. But I'm not anymore. So thank you. For the bridge. For McGill. For all of it. For not giving up on me, even when I didn't deserve your patience. I looked at this young woman, not my blood, but somehow mine anyway, and felt the weight I'd been carrying shift. You're welcome, I said. That night, Linda asked me if I was happy. Happy? With how it turned out. With Claire, I thought about it. About the anger and the silence and the painful rebuilding. I'm satisfied, I said. She's standing on her own. She knows what it costs. And she knows who showed up. That's enough. Is it, though? It has to be. Because here's what I learned. You can't make people see you. You can only decide whether you'll accept being invisible. I chose not to, and maybe that cost us time, cost us comfort, but it gave us truth, and truth is what love should be built on. Linda kissed my forehead. When did you get so wise? The same day I decided I'd rather be honest than comfortable. Sometimes I think about that graduation speech, about standing in that banquet hall, invisible, while Claire thanked a man who'd barely shown up. I think about the anger I felt, the betrayal, the bitter arithmetic of $58,000 and 22 years. But I also think about what came after. The hard conversations, the boundaries, the slow rebuilding of something real. Claire and I have dinner twice a month now. We talk about her work, her projects. She asks for advice sometimes. Not because she needs my money, she doesn't, but because she values my perspective. Last week, she brought her boyfriend to meet us, an architect. They met on a project site. She introduced me as Tom, my stepdad, who taught me everything about building things properly. And later, when we were alone in the kitchen, she said, "You know, I tell people about you now, about the 10th grade bridge, about McGill, about how you showed up for 22 years without asking for credit. You don't owe me, I know, but I want to. I want people to know who you are. Not who I pretended you were. That's the thing about respect. You can't demand it. You can't buy it. You can't earn it through silence. But you can require it. You can say, this is the line. This is what I will and won't accept. And sometimes, if you're lucky, the people you love will hear you. They'll choose to step toward you instead of away. Not because they have to, because they want to. Because they've learned that love without respect is just comfortable lies. And nobody builds a life on lies, not one that lasts. I'm 65 now, retired. Linda and I are planning a trip to the Maritimes next summer. Claire asked if she can join us for part of it. We said yes. Derek sent her a Christmas card last year. She texted me after. He says he's proud, wants to reconnect now that I'm established. What did you tell him? I told him I'm busy, and that if he wants to be part of my life, he needs to be part of the work, not just the celebration. Good answer. I learned from the best. I don't know if that's true. I made mistakes, stayed silent too long, let resentment build instead of speaking up, but I also learned, and so did she. That's what family is, maybe. Not perfect people getting it right, but imperfect people choosing, again and again, to show up, to be honest, to do the work, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. And in the end, that's the only lesson worth teaching. Don't disappear into other people's lives. Don't accept being invisible. And don't mistake silence for love. Real love demands to be seen. It requires truth. It insists on respect. Everything else is just comfortable erasure. And nobody should live their life erased.